Hello again. I'm going to have to be very careful today because the last time I spoke about face masks on here, I ended up being banned for a fortnight for spreading medical misinformation. Let me see if I can avoid the same fate the second time round. I will begin by saying one or two things which are incontrovertibly true before moving on to anything at all controversial. The first point I will make is that the evidence that face masks prevent the spread of disease is vanishingly slender. Perhaps the most surprising indication of this is an experiment carried out 40 years ago in the English city of Colchester. I've mentioned this in the past, but it is so counterintuitive that I feel I should just remind viewers what was done. I provide in the description to this video a link to the study. Even those who are dubious about the benefits of face masks on buses and trains probably think there is a place for them in hospitals, particularly in operating theatres. Astonishingly, there is not a shred of evidence that the use of masks in operating theatres benefits anybody at all. In 1981, an operating theatre in Colchester Hospital simply stopped using face masks for 6 months. It was as simple as that. Read the study to which I give a link and be amazed. There was no increase in infections, and the general agreement was that wearing face masks during surgery is utterly pointless as a way of preventing infections from spreading while operations are being undertaken. The only benefit is psychological. That is to say, patients feel reassured by the sight of staff wearing masks. They have no effect whatsoever on the bacteria or viruses. If masks are pointless in operating theatres, one wonders why they are so vital in supermarkets. I could say a lot more about this, but I really do not wish to be banned again. Anyway, you might think that the British public would be delighted to hear that in a fortnight's time they will no longer be obliged by law to wear the wretched things, but you would be quite wrong. More than half of those asked in a recent opinion poll say that they want to carry on wearing them in public. What is really strange, at least at first sight, is that it is the least clinically vulnerable who are most enthusiastic about face masks. This is not as puzzling as it first sounds. I am in several vulnerable categories. I am, of course, old, and as those who have remarked on my coughing and disgusting noises on these videos may have noticed, I have a fairly serious respiratory condition as well. I have never worn a mask though during this pandemic. Quite a few older people have felt the same way. They're happy to take their chances in spite of being statistically more likely to contract illnesses relating to the lungs like COVID and influenza. Many young and healthy people, on the other hand, are absolutely religious about mask wearing and feel that it demonstrates how much they care about protecting others. And it is this which is key to the whole business. The generation to which I belong has a strong tradition of personal responsibility for health and indeed other aspects of our lives. I neither want nor need the state to tell me to wrap up warm in the cold weather or to put on sun cream when it's hot. It's none of the government's damned business what I do with my body, and if I want to contract skin cancer or catch flu, then that's my affair. Younger people, though, have grown up with the notion that the state should look after them and tell them when it's too sunny for them to go outdoors in safety, or whether they should sit 10 feet away from other people to avoid catching their germs. Advice about how many pints of beer they should drink in the pub, or whether this food or that is safe to eat, provide many people under the age of 30 or 40 with comforting reassurance. They are glad that the law forbids them to light a cigarette in the pub. It shows that they are living in a civilised and well-ordered society. This then is the fault line which is about to open up in British society on July the 19th. On the one hand, there will be people like me who will be striding around without a face covering and ignoring any supposed hazards, and on the other will be the priggish and self-righteous, chiefly younger types, who see mask wearing as the outward and visible sign of their inner grace, an indication to the world that they are, as they would say, doing the right thing. Their masks will not, of course, protect either them nor anybody else from germs, but they will act as a gentle reproof to selfish devils like me, who roam the streets coughing and spluttering and spreading epidemics in our wake. We see here what is essentially an ideological division. On the one side are people like me who agree with what Margaret Thatcher said in 1987, and I quote, "There's no such thing as society. There are individual men and women and there are families, and no government can do anything except through people, and people must look after themselves first. It is our duty to look after ourselves and then also to look after our neighbour." Sounds very sensible to me. On the other side are younger people who believe that society is more important than the individual men and women whom it contains. For them it is a case of what is good for the hive is good for the bee, and individuals should be prepared to surrender their freedoms and liberties for the good of society. It will be interesting to see which side gains ground most strongly in the coming weeks and months. I have a very decided suspicion that it will be the prigs and left-wingers who will come out on top.